When Elon Musk stopped by a small grocery store in Austin after a long day, he had no idea he was about to alter someone's life forever. Standing in line behind an elderly man who couldn't afford his heart medication, Elon stepped in to assist. It seemed like a simple gesture of kindness, covering the cost of a stranger's groceries. But this was no ordinary elderly man. Walter Jenkins, a retired science teacher whose influence had shaped countless lives, would soon turn this chance meeting at Wheatsville Co-op into something neither could have foreseen. Their connection would reveal a surprising truth: their paths had crossed long before that rainy evening. Elon's generous act at the checkout was merely the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would impact thousands of students and even contribute to humanity's journey to Mars. Rain poured over Austin, Texas, casting the evening sky in deep shades of gray. Elon Musk pulled his Tesla into the parking lot of Wheatsville Co-op, a local grocery store nestled near Tesla's Texas Gigafactory. He hadn't intended to stop, but after a day filled with meetings, he needed a few essentials before heading home. Dressed in a plain black t-shirt and jeans, Elon pulled a simple baseball cap low over his eyes, hoping to avoid recognition. Fame had its perks, but sometimes he just wanted to shop for groceries in peace. Inside the store, Elon quickly gathered what he needed: some fruit, sparkling water, and a bar of dark chocolate. As he approached the checkout, he noticed the lines were unusually busy for a Tuesday evening. He chose the shortest one and stepped behind an elderly man. The older man wore a faded blue veteran's cap with "Vietnam" embroidered on it. His shoulders were slightly stooped, and his weathered hands trembled as he placed his items on the conveyor belt: a loaf of bread, 3 cans of soup, a small carton of milk, and a box of prescription medication. The cashier, whose name tag read Maya Rodriguez, greeted the elderly customer warmly. "Good evening, Mr. Jenkins. How are you feeling today?" "Can't complain, Maya. This rain's making my old bones ache, though." "I've seen worse weather in my time," the man replied with a gentle smile. Elon watched as Mr. Jenkins began rummaging through a worn leather wallet. Maya scanned his items with care, placing them into a paper bag. "That'll be $43.87, she said. Mr. Jenkins' face fell slightly. He counted the bills in his wallet, then dug into his pocket for coins. Elon noticed his hands shaking more noticeably now. "I thought I had enough," Mr. Jenkins murmured softly. "Let me check again." Maya waited patiently as the line behind them grew longer. Elon didn't mind the delay, but he could sense the growing impatience of others in the queue. After counting his money twice, Mr. Jenkins looked up at Maya, embarrassment in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Maya. I've only got $32. I'll need to take something off." "What would you like me to remove, Mr. Jenkins?" Maya asked kindly. The elderly man studied his modest pile of groceries. "Let's take off the medicine. I can wait until next week when my pension check comes in." Elon observed the exchange quietly. Without hesitation, he stepped forward. "Sir," he said to Mr. Jenkins, "please, let me cover this for you." The older man turned, surprised by the offer. He looked at Elon, not immediately recognizing him. "Oh, no, I couldn't." "I insist," Elon said firmly but with kindness. He handed his credit card to Maya. "Please add my items to his total." Maya's eyes widened slightly as she recognized Elon, but she maintained her professionalism. "Of course, sir," she said, processing both orders together. Mr. Jenkins studied Elon's face more closely. A flicker of recognition lit up his eyes. "You're Elon Musk," he said softly, just loud enough for Elon to hear. Elon smiled and nodded. "And what's your name?" "Walter Jenkins." "I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything, Mr. Jenkins," Elon replied. Maya finished the transaction and handed Elon his card back. "Would you like a receipt, Mr. Musk?" "No, thank you," Elon said, helping Walter gather his grocery bags. As they stepped away from the register, Walter turned to Elon. "I appreciate your kindness, but I don't need charity. I just miscalculated what I had this week. It's not charity, Elon responded. It's just one person helping another. We all need a hand sometimes. Walter nodded, still looking a bit uneasy. Outside, the rain had intensified, falling in heavy sheets. Walter glanced at the downpour with a sigh. I was hoping it'd let up. It's a 3-block walk to the bus stop. Elon looked at the older man's cane and the pouring rain. I have my car here. Let me drive you home. You've already done enough. It's a downpour, Mr. Jenkins. Please, allow me, Elon insisted. After a moment of hesitation, Walter nodded. Thank you. These old knees don't move like they used to. They hurried through the rain to Elon's Tesla Model S. Once inside, Walter ran a hand admiringly over the dashboard. My students were always talking about your cars, he said as Elon started the engine. I taught science in high school for over 40 years before I retired. Where did you teach? Elon asked, pulling out of the parking lot. East Austin High, mostly physics and chemistry, Walter replied, directing Elon toward his neighborhood. I always told my students science could change the world. As they drove through the rainy streets, Walter pointed out landmarks and shared stories from his teaching days. Elon listened with genuine interest in the older man's tales. This is the place, Walter said finally, pointing to a modest single-story house with peeling white paint and a small front porch. This house has been here for 50 years. Elon pulled into the driveway and helped Walter with his groceries. As they approached the front door, Walter turned to him. Would you like to come in for a cup of coffee? It's the least I can offer. Elon glanced at his watch. He had a video conference with Tesla's China leadership scheduled in an hour. He should head home to prepare. But something about Walter's stories intrigued him. I'd love a coffee, Elon replied, making a decision that would change their lives forever. As Walter opened the front door, neither could predict how this chance encounter would grow into something remarkable, or that the true reason for their meeting was yet to be uncovered. Walter's home was humble but tidy. The narrow hallway walls were lined with family photos. A bookshelf in the living room corner overflowed with well-worn science textbooks in soft covers. Everything was clean but dated, as if stepping back into the 1980s. Please, have a seat, Walter said, gesturing to a worn armchair. Coffee will just take a minute. Elon sat while Walter shuffled to the kitchen. Through the doorway, Elon could see him carefully putting away the groceries, moving slowly but with purpose, placing each item in its spot. Do you take anything in your coffee? Walter called out. Black, thanks, Elon replied, taking in the room. On a side table next to his chair, Elon noticed a few framed photos. One showed a much younger Walter in military uniform, another captured Walter with a woman around his age, both beaming against what looked like the Grand Canyon backdrop. Walter returned with 2 chipped mugs of steaming coffee. He handed one to Elon and eased into the chair across from him. My late wife, Eleanor, always said I made coffee strong enough to wake the dead, Walter chuckled. She preferred tea herself. Elon took a sip. The coffee was indeed strong but good. How long were you married? 54 years, Walter said quietly. She passed 3 years ago from cancer. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a tattered photo, handing it to Elon. It showed a beautiful woman with kind eyes and a bright smile. Eleanor was a kindergarten teacher. We met at a school district conference in 1963. I was giving a talk on making science accessible to young minds, and she asked the sharpest questions. I was smitten right away. Elon studied the photo. She has a wonderful smile. She did, Walter agreed, taking the picture back and gazing at it before tucking it away. Medical bills took most of our savings in the end. We had insurance, but you know how it is, there's always something they don't cover. Elon nodded. And you mentioned you were in Vietnam? Combat medic, from 1968 to 1970, Walter confirmed. Saw things no one should have to see. But I also saved lives. That's what I try to remember. He rolled up his sleeve slightly, revealing a small scar on his forearm. Got this pulling a young private out of a burning vehicle. They gave me a Purple Heart for it, though I never felt I deserved it. I was just doing my job. That's impressive, Elon said. And then you became a teacher. Walter's face brightened. Best decision of my life. Used the GI Bill to finish my education. Taught science for 42 years at East Austin High. Mostly physics and chemistry, though I covered biology when needed. As they spoke, the rain continued to patter against the windows. Walter shared stories of his decades in the classroom, the challenges of teaching in an underfunded school, and the joy of seeing students succeed. I always focused on practical application, Walter explained. Science isn't just formulas in a textbook, it's how the world works. I had my students build things, rockets, simple machines, solar cells. Many came from tough backgrounds, but in my classroom, they were engineers and inventors. Elon found himself genuinely intrigued by Walter's teaching philosophy, which echoed his own hands-on approach to problem solving. What about you? Walter asked suddenly. I've read about your companies, but what got you interested in electric cars and rockets in the first place? The question caught Elon off guard. Most people asked about his wealth or recent headlines, not his motivations. I've always been drawn to problems that could shape humanity's future, Elon explained. Sustainable energy, becoming a multiplanetary species, these are the issues that will determine whether civilization keeps advancing or stagnates. Walter nodded thoughtfully. That's what I always told my students, think big, solve real problems. Most just wanted to pass the test, of course, but some took it to heart. The retired teacher stood slowly. Would you like to see my workshop? Nothing fancy, but I still tinker with ideas there. I'd love to, Elon replied, surprised by his own genuine interest. Walter led him through the house to a converted garage. When he flicked on the lights, Elon's eyes widened. The space was filled with hand-built rocket models, engineering designs, and science projects in various stages of completion. Workbenches lined the walls, cluttered with tools and materials. This is my sanctuary, Walter said with pride. I still mentor students on science fair projects from time to time. Elon walked around the room, examining the intricate rocket models. One particularly striking design caught his attention. This one's interesting, he said, picking up a model with an unusual fin configuration. Walter beamed with pride. That won a national high school competition in 1992. My team developed a special fuel mixture that gave it extra thrust without adding weight. Elon examined the model more closely. The aerodynamics are quite advanced for a school project. Those students were brilliant, Walter said. The team leader, Sophia Chen, went on to become an engineer at NASA. She's working on Mars mission planning now. Elon looked up, surprised. Dr. Sophia Chen, tall woman, specializes in habitat design. That's her, Walter exclaimed. You know Sophia? She leads one of the teams collaborating with SpaceX on Mars habitat designs, Elon explained. She's exceptional. Walter walked over to a shelf and pulled out a scrapbook. He flipped through pages of yellowed newspaper clippings and photos until he found what he was looking for. Here she is, Walter said, pointing to a picture of a teenage girl standing proudly next to the rocket model Elon had just admired. Sophia always said she wanted to help people live on Mars someday. I told her she could do it, though I'll admit, I wasn't sure I believed it back then. They continued browsing the scrapbook, Walter pointing out other former students. This is Miguel Rivera. He's at Tesla now, working on battery technology. And this is James Washington, he's on your team at SpaceX. Elon was struck by the connections. It seems I've been benefiting from your teaching for years without even realizing it. Before heading back to the living room, Elon noticed a worn notebook on Walter's desk. Its pages were filled with detailed sketches and calculations. "What's this?" he asked, picking it up. "Oh, just some old ideas," Walter said dismissively. "Dreams from another time." Elon flipped through the pages, his interest growing with each one. The notebook contained innovative engine cooling system designs, complete with detailed calculations. "These ideas are pretty remarkable," Elon said, studying a particular design. "Did you ever try to develop them?" "At my age?" Walter smiled sadly. "It's just a hobby now. Besides, I never had the resources to test them properly." As they returned to the living room, Elon checked his watch. His video conference was starting in 15 minutes. "I need to head out," he said reluctantly. "Thank you for the coffee and the conversation." At the door, Walter extended his hand. "Thanks again for your help today, Mr. Musk." "Elon, please," he replied, shaking Walter's hand. "It's been a pleasure." As Elon drove home through the rain, his mind kept returning to Walter's notebook, and the connections to his own companies. Something about this meeting felt significant, as if their encounter was more than mere chance. He made a decision before he even reached home. His assistant would be surprised by the unusual request, but Elon was certain, he needed to see Walter Jenkins again. A week later, Walter was startled by a knock at his door. He wasn't expecting visitors, and few people dropped by these days without calling first. He made his way to the entrance slowly, leaning on his cane. When he opened the door, he was shocked to see Elon Musk standing on his porch. "Mr. Musk, Elon," Walter said, blinking in surprise. "This is unexpected." Elon smiled. "I hope I'm not interrupting. I was in the area and thought I'd stop by." Walter knew the Tesla CEO was likely busy running multiple companies, and, being in the area, was probably a polite fiction. But he was genuinely glad to see him again. "Not at all. Please, come in," Walter said, stepping aside. This time, Elon carried a small package under his arm. Once they settled in the living room, he handed it to Walter. "I brought something I thought you might appreciate," Elon explained. Walter unwrapped the package to reveal a detailed scale model of SpaceX's latest Starship prototype, crafted with precision down to the smallest details. "This is incredible," Walter said, examining the model with an expert's eye. "The engineering is beautiful. Our team just finalized this design last month," Elon said. "I remembered your rocket collection and thought you might like to add this to your workshop." Walter was touched by the thoughtful gift. "Thank you. I'll display it in a place of honor among my models." Over the next hour, they discussed the technical aspects of the Starship's design. Walter asked insightful questions that impressed Elon. The retired teacher clearly kept up with modern aerospace developments despite being retired. "Would you mind if I take another look at your workshop?" Elon asked. "I've been thinking about some of the designs I saw in your notebook." Walter led him back to the converted garage. In the daylight, the space was even more impressive. Decades of hand-built projects, prototypes, and engineering sketches lined the walls, a testament to a lifelong inventor. Elon went straight to the desk where he'd seen the notebook during his last visit. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to it. Of course, Walter nodded, curious about Elon's interest. Elon opened the worn notebook and studied the engine cooling system calculations more closely. These calculations address issues we're currently tackling at SpaceX. Walter shrugged modestly. "Just thought experiments. I follow the technical papers your team publishes and try to solve problems on my own. It keeps my mind sharp." Elon flipped through a few more pages, his excitement growing. "This approach to the cooling system, it's elegant. Have you tested any of these designs, even on a small scale? With limited resources?" Walter replied. He pulled open a drawer and retrieved a small prototype, cobbled together from salvaged and modified parts. "It's rough, but it demonstrates the basic principle." Elon examined the homemade device with growing amazement. This elderly teacher had built a working model of a concept SpaceX engineers were grappling with, using only scrap materials. Walter, do you realize this design has potential applications we've been exploring for months? The older man smiled. Theoretically, yes, but it would need the right materials and testing facilities to be viable. Elon continued exploring the workshop, uncovering more treasures. On a high shelf, he found a photo album labeled "My Stars." Opening it, he saw page after page of student photos, newspaper clippings, and letters spanning 5 decades. "Are these all your former students?" Elon asked. Walter nodded proudly. "Everyone who went on to a career in science or engineering. I tried to keep track of them all." Elon flipped through the pages, recognizing more names than he expected: engineers, scientists, and innovators now working at top tech companies, including his own. On one page was a photo of Dr. Sophia Chen, the NASA engineer he'd mentioned during his last visit. Next to her picture was a handwritten letter thanking Walter for inspiring her career choice. "Your influence reaches further than you might realize," Elon said thoughtfully. Walter smiled. "Teachers never know how much they impact students. We plant seeds and hope they grow, but we rarely see the whole forest that might eventually sprout." As their conversation continued, Elon learned that Walter had published several papers on science education methods during his teaching career. His approach emphasized practical problem solving over rote memorization, teaching students to think like engineers rather than just pass exams. "This is fascinating," Elon said, holding a worn copy of a paper Walter had presented at an education conference in 1979. "Your teaching philosophy aligns perfectly with how I approach engineering challenges." Walter beamed with pride. "That paper was my manifesto as a young teacher. I believed students learn best by doing, not just listening." Before leaving, Elon noticed one more item: a framed certificate on the workshop wall. It was a patent from 1985 for a rocket design educational system. "You patented your teaching method?" Elon asked, surprised. "Not for profit," Walter explained. "I wanted it to be accessible to other teachers without commercialization. The patent expired long ago." As the afternoon light faded, Elon reluctantly prepared to leave. At the door, he turned to Walter with an unusual hesitancy. "I have a proposition for you," Elon said. "Would you like to visit the Tesla Gigafactory next week? There are some people I'd like you to meet." Walter was taken aback by the invitation. "Me? What could I possibly offer?" This concludes our narrative journey. I trust you found this gripping saga of intrigue, cutting-edge innovation, and astonishing discoveries captivating. From where are you tuning in today? I'm curious to learn which corner of the globe this tale has touched. If this escapade held your interest, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for a steady stream of compelling, mind-expanding stories just like this one. Fresh material is posted frequently, ensuring you're always in the loop for the newest spellbinding adventures. Be sure to pass this video along to your loved ones and friends. It's a great way to share positivity and insight while expanding our circle of story enthusiasts. Your encouragement is invaluable. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to welcoming you back for the next tale.